it seems very, very small. In fact, many people would probably look at it as kind of involved in a mission impossible to do. 2014, there was an estimate that 92 million acres of farmland would change hands in the next 5 years. Current age of farmers in the United States in the last census was over 58 years of age on average for farmers. One estimate was as these farmers retire over the next 20 years, more than 70% of all agricultural land will change hands. So SILT is involved in an uphill battle. Land access is listed consistently as the #1 challenge or the #1 obstacle to a whole new generation of farmers that I have the opportunity to work with on a regular basis. These are farmers that are committed to those traditional family farm values that are consistent with SILT's mission. It's a family farm values historically of stewardship, taking care of the land, of community, of being responsible members of the communities in where farmers farm. The obstacle today is that farmland prices have been inflated beyond the value that can be paid for in terms of revenues or returns from sustainable farming practices, even in many cases with premium prices that sustainable farmers and organic farmers receive. Why is that so? Competition, on the one hand, from large-scale, what I call industrial agricultural commodity producers that are heavily subsidized by government, which gives them the opportunity to bid high for farmland prices as they're under pressure to continue to expand. But I think more recently, and probably more important for the future, is that farmland increasingly is being bought up and owned by speculative investors with investment funds that are promoting farmland as a safer investment for the future than the speculative financial markets of the past. In fact, 30% of farmland in this country today is owned by non-operators, non-farmers, non-farm landlords. That includes individuals as well as the corporate investment funds. Many of these farms are not managed by farmers. They're managed by professional farm managers. And these professional farm managers, by and large, are not managing for the social, ecological, economic triple bottom line of sustainable regenerative agriculture. They're managing for the economic bottom line of industrial agricultural businesses. Many of the large farms today are touted as what's called precision farming. What does precision farming mean? It means that they use records of soil tests and yield monitors to develop digital databases, and then they use GPS systems then that guide the farm machines as they plant the crops and apply the fertilization and the pesticides. Not even a farmer making the decisions involved in the whole process. And then they use also the satellite systems to real-time monitoring during the growing process to adjust the process. We call it now as climate smart agriculture. It's being put forward as an alternative to traditional sustainable agriculture, saying that we can manage the farms more sustainably with these high-tech, sophisticated systems based on databases. Over the years, the operations such as this have collected a mountain of databases, tremendous billions and billions of bits and bytes of data that has to do with soil tests, and yields, and application, and various other things. It's called big data now. And the big data increasingly is owned by big corporations such as Monsanto and Bayer, now have proprietary control over those databases. And when the futurists in agriculture are looking today, they look to a future where farming will be controlled by computers and robots that are guided by the big data from the corporate databases. So with the corporations now controlling the databases and large investment corporations basically owning the farmland, then the mission of SILT of permanently protecting farmland to grow healthy foods for future generations seem daunting, if not impossible. The achievements of SILT might seem like, very insignificant. 5 farms, 400 acres, but that's not so. Because there are dozens of organizations, nonprofit organizations all across this country, not just trusts, but other nonprofit organizations, that are committed to this same basic mission of creating a new food system, a food system that's regenerative and sustainable. And each of those organizations is unique. Each has a unique role to play, but there's strength in that diversity of organizations that share this common mission. And there's also hundreds of thousands of retiring farmers out there that would like to leave a legacy that would pass on to the next generation their commitments to historical family farm values of stewardship of the land and being responsible members of their community. And there are thousands or maybe millions of people like you here tonight who are willing to support organizations like SILT and the other organizations that are committed to permanently protecting the farms for this new generation of farmers who are committed to producing healthy food for future generations. In Iowa, ironically, one of the most powerful tools for the future may turn out to be something rather unexpected, the Iowa Right to Farm law, which is basically intended to protect industrial agriculture. But if you go and read the purpose of that law, you'll find these words. It says the intent of the General Assembly is to provide local citizens and local governments the means by which agricultural land may be protected from non-agricultural development pressures. This may be accomplished by the creation of county land preservation and use plans and policies, adoption of an agricultural land preservation ordinance, or establishment of agricultural areas in which substantial agricultural activities are encouraged. The obvious intent of that is to separate farming areas from residential areas so that there's no conflict between the two. But they're looking at an industrial agriculture which is incompatible with people living nearby. But if we look at a regenerative, sustainable agriculture, we could use what they have prescribed in the legislation to develop agricultural zones, which are essentially preservation zones or safe zones that surround our cities and surround our small towns and our communities, where we have rural residents and farmers living together in proximity to each other in mutually beneficial, supportive relationships of farmers providing food for their communities and the communities providing sort for the farmers, and we could permanently protect healthy food systems for the benefit of those generations to come. These kinds of farms are good places to live on, good places to raise families, and good places to live around. The ideal foundation of sustainable rural communities and rural urban communities all around the country. What's SILT doing in that regard? SILT and the other organizations are building the grassroots support that ultimately it takes to bring about these big changes. It has to be done. It's like the trim tab on the big ocean liners, which is the little tab on the rudder of the ocean liner, and that little tab allows the ship to change the rudder, and then the rudder allows that big ship to change directions. And that's what's happening today. Let's think of agriculture, industrial agriculture today as a big fleet of ships that's headed in the wrong direction, toward what Sedan called the quiet agricultural crisis of today, toward an unsustainable agricultural future and an unsustainable future for humanity. See, SILT and other organizations all across this country already changed directions. They're moving in the opposite direction like that Tim tab, and they will allow other organizations like local governments and local planning agencies, which is happening across Iowa and other places, to begin to change the rudder, and that rudder can change that whole fleet of ships and move it in a fundamentally different direction. So maybe there's skeptics that say, well, I get accused of being idealistic at times, and maybe that's so, but I don't apologize for that. But you know what? If nothing else, SILT is going to help dozens, perhaps more, of retiring farmers find the opportunity to leave the legacy they want to leave by connecting with this new generation of farmers that want to carry forward with those traditional family farm values of stewardship and community. And finally, if nothing else has convinced you, or you think the odds are simply too great against us, you know, folks, there's a lot of things in life we simply have to do because it's the right thing to do. Thank you.